just heard stories about like how musicians struggle intensely many times with mental health problems. But it's so, the lifestyle is so unorthodox. I don't think there's many coping skills that can like,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
be a tried and true.
yeah. I feel like people who maybe aren't in our position with what we do, like the closest thing outside of what we do is probably a drug addict, because it's like, because we have these super highs and super drops, because I noticed, to echo what Doc said, I always notice that, the post-tour blues, as they call it, they're, you're getting this giant burst in adrenaline and dopamine and whatever else is going on up there in the soup. It's like you're just getting a burst of it every night. And I heard someone say this on a podcast. They were like, how good it feels when someone's like, hey, good job, dude. Like when you're a kid, just someone's like, great job, and you're like, you get that little good feeling. Well, imagine like 10,000 people doing that every night to you, and screaming it. There's
Yeah.
like this weird instinctual thing that gets unlocked, and it's like, when you come home, I found two things that I observed about myself. One was I usually got sick like after a few days, and I learned something about myself and like my immune system, that a lot of times you think, resting and relaxing is healthy for you, which it is, in its right place. But I also learned that your immune system, has a certain kind of positive stress, that when you like let go of all the tension in your system, like too much, your immune system just dips. And every time I would get sick, because I would just want to like sleep all day and just rest too much because of that dip from the tour. So I learned that. And then I also learned that because, before I wasn't aware of what was going on with that dopamine kick or adrenaline or whatever, that I started seeking it elsewhere. So I'd start having very destructive, almost the dark side of it is that your brain's going to seek it, and getting it in the form of playing music and interacting with people is like a really positive way to get that kick, but then there's like dark ways that you can get it, and your brain will start like seeking that out in the world, and you're like, almost like a drug addict, like, where can I find this kick? And I didn't even realize that that's what my brain was doing, and it was just, it's kind of like a computer. It was just being trained to like seek it out elsewhere. So the pandemic was very revealing to me that, I never really had a problem with alcohol or things like that. But in this time period, I was drinking more than I ever had, and just going on bingers, and just doing crazy shit, just to get something. And I didn't realize I was like unconsciously seeking that,
Yeah, I feel that. I was an addict for years, and the band was kind of my saving grace to that. And writing songs and putting my emotions into things that I love, like music, gave me an outlet to realize all of the bad decisions I had been making for the better part of 2 decades. But it's a little different for me when I come home, because my son, he's 15 now, and doesn't seem to be getting any younger. So for me, I have two tops of the world, right? So like music is obviously everything that I put my life into post addiction. And I slipped back into addiction a couple times while doing this as well. But this is my saving grace, but my family is also my saving grace. So for me, being on the road is an amazing thing. Like you were saying, Johnny and Doc, like the dopamine and everything, the rush that you're getting from being out there, and the adrenaline that you can't really get anywhere else, is one thing. But when I'm at home with my family, it's like a whole other aspect of, I guess, the happy dopamine that I get to be with them. So I feel like it is difficult, and the transition is harder for me, or not harder, but hard for me to go through those transitions. But at the same time, like I look forward to each of them. So it's kind of like a cycle, right? Like I'm at home for a little while, and I'm like, man, I look forward to getting out on stage and doing this thing. And then when I'm on the road for so long, man, I look forward to getting home with my family. So it kind of goes back and forth. But yeah, I mean, without my family and without the road, having that cycle, I'd probably still be an addict. So I'm just super grateful for both of them. And the wife's calling me.
Yeah. Oh, hi, wife. Speaking of, see, her ears, they were burning. See, she knew. Yeah.
She's like, he's saying good things about me in front of other people. I better call him.
Right.
Yeah.
Why don't you say those things to me? Right.
I feel like for me, it's like family's the reason you want to come home, and also the reason you want to leave.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
So situational, right? It can just be one of two things, but it's cool that you have both of those zones, because I feel like that's a great balance, right? And then I talk a lot about this with other people too. Music is my second career, actually. I'm a psychotherapist as well, so I talk with a lot of people about, when you're coping with these, seeking out, like you said, Johnny, about like this high, right? What else are you going to do that is redirecting it, but in a positive light, and can also help you to experience, like, not just like, oh, this feels nice. Intense joy is what you're seeking, right? It's not good enough to just be like, yeah, I'm going to go walk out in the, it's a nice day, it's a sunshiny, like, you better really appreciate that sunshine if you want it to be sufficient, because if not, it's just not going to feel quite right. And so you have to learn, and I think that awareness is so key in learning how to like appreciate, really, really big happiness, really, really big joy in other spaces that is not just this drug,